Good evening from Asheville, North Carolina.
Mark, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself, Luann?
Good.
I'm amazed at how here in Asheville we're starting to see spring wildflowers popping up, and it's
Oh,
definitely spring in the air, but it got a little bit cooler.
yeah, spring is here on the West Coast. It was, we've had a couple of 70-degree days and the flowers are out and my nose is running. That's how I know that spring is here. Hi, Sonia.
Hello, Sonia, Lisa, and Matthew.
How's everybody doing?
Been a
Good.
busy day. Oh, there's Lisa, and she's not trying to resuscitate or recover someone.
Not tonight. Good to see you, Luann.
Good to see you too.
Liz, I always see you working on something in class. Are you sewing on something? Liz, can you hear me?
Yes.
I said, oh, I noticed that you're always sewing on something or making something in class. What are you making?
Okay, guys, I will show you. I have a hard time sitting still, okay? It's going to be this quilt, right? So these are each a block. And this is a half a block that I just finished.
Wow.
This is not quite done. It still needs 6 more things. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
making that.
That's
If Liz
amazing.
was an automobile mechanic, your headlights would be perfectly aligned, right?
Honestly, this kind of sewing, like there's paper on the back, and that's what makes it so
Oh,
I guess pristine. My machine sewing is not that amazing. I mean, it's okay, but this is called English paper piecing, and it's just designed for you to be awesome.
very cool. What do you do with the finished product?
Well, I was working on one for a year and a half, and that's upstairs. I just
Wow.
need to make the back, and then I hand it off to a long armor. They have a huge 30-foot machine. And they add the batting, and then they do the quilting. Comes back to me, and I add the binding, and I gift it to someone.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's great.
How
So
many years?
Jennifer, oh, let me ask,
I'm sorry.
Jennifer, did you see my message that my first email to you got rejected because your iCloud wouldn't accept these two big things? So anyway, I sent it to you, so you got it. So goody.
I did. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just asking Liz how many years she has done that, gifted this article. It sounds like a legacy that is very cool.
It is cool. I have like the family that I grew up with in New England, but there is a lot of people in Utah, and they all quilt. And my mom used to make some of our clothes, not all of them. And so sewing has just always been around. The hand sewing is new. I always thought people who hand sewed were a little crazy. Like, why do that? You have a machine, you can go fast. But then I tried it, and I love it.
Well, good.
I know. I'm
Well,
lucky.
let's see what time we have here. We have 8:59. We have one more minute. It's good to
I
see
had
everybody.
a question.
Yes.
So I was trying to pull up last week's video and I couldn't get it to come up. Is everyone having that problem?
Mark, do you want to comment on that?
let me take a look at it, because I did have an error message. So let me double check here.
Okay, goody. Mark is our all-around tech dude. And he can troubleshoot most everything with success, so aren't we happy to have Mark? I am, boy. Lisa, okay. So it is 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the class. So first thing I want to know, is there anyone here who has not gotten a book? Has everyone gotten, you haven't gotten a book, Lisa? Oh, bummer. Okay, I'm gonna look up your address and find out.
I got two. I got
Who's that?
two,
You
so I
got
can give you one.
Jennifer, you
Yeah.
got two.
I
Oh,
one came
good.
in the mail today,
Oh, they
and I got
did?
one last week. So Lisa,
Okay,
I can give you one.
perfect.
I
That's,
didn't get a book.
who's that, Liz? Okay. So
Thanks, Jen.
Li-
I got
Liz.
one. I think that might have been Sabrina.
No, Sabrina got one.
Oh, you did?
Sabrina got one.
Okay, I
Did
did too.
Sonia doesn't have one.
Yes.
Sonia doesn't have one. Where did Sonia go? There she is. Sonia, you haven't gotten one yet either?
No, I haven't gotten one.
Okay. Sonia needs a book. I think on my message it said the last one would be delivered sometime around the 5th or the 6th of April. So I can go look up everybody's, but so Lisa, you're going to be covered by Jennifer. So that Jennifer's already got one. And Liz, I need to figure out what's happened to her, and I need to see what's happened to Sonia.
Liz
And
is good. I have my book. I've done it.
oh, Liz has? Okay, cool. And so Sonia and Matthew, hi, you got a
Hi,
book.
I
Yeah,
got
you
my
got
book. Thank you.
terrific. So Sonia's my only person. Lisa Nowicki, have you gotten a book? Okay, awesome. Totally awesome. So Sonia, we're going to find out. I'm going to find out what's going on with you by the end of the night tonight, okay? I'm going to go back to my Amazon tracker and find out what's happening, all right? Okay, well, everybody, welcome to class number 8. And we have two really great speakers tonight. But first, we're going to check in as your favorite quote or a quote. And so I'm going to tell you what one of my favorite quotes is by Mary Oliver. And it is, "Tell me, what is it you wish to do with your one wild and precious life?" So that
Yeah.
always inspires me. All right. So Mark, have you got a quote?
I don't right offhand.
Want
It
me to
would be something along the line like, why does technology occasionally break and drive you crazy?
Okay. All right. Okay, Luann, what about you?
Oh, so repeat the question.
What is a favorite quote of yours?
Oh boy. Well, soar with the eagles. I
Okay. All
rise
right.
above everything.
Okay, rise above everything. Okay, thank you. And Sonia, what about you?
I have several of them, but I'm just trying to think of the one from P.T. Barnum. The one that comfort is the hinders progress.
Will you say that again?
I believe it goes, comfort is the hindrance of progress.
Really? Okay. Interesting. Is the
Yeah.
hindrance of progress.
And that's P.T.
Okay.
Barnum.
Thank
Okay.
you. See you in the
Thank
morning.
you. Thank you. All right, Sabrina, have you got a quote?
I do. I just started a book from Jordan Peterson, which I didn't realize he was so controversial when I started it. But I've been reading the 12 Rules for Life, and he has some great quotes. But my most recent that I have highlighted says, "I have learned to pay attention to dreams, not the least because of my training as a clinical psychologist. but dreams shed light on the dim places where reason itself has yet to voyage. And I liked that one.
Ooh, okay, say that one more time. That was a long one. Say it again so I can let it sink in. Go ahead.
He said, I have learned to pay attention to dreams, not least because of my training as a clinical psychologist, but dreams shed light on the dim places where reason itself has yet to voyage.
On the dim places. Ooh, okay. Thank you. That's lovely. All right. And Jennifer, what about you?
Mine has a different tone to it, but I'm going to add to it because I would go with lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. Oh, wait, I work in the OR. Yes, it does.
Oh, but wait, yes. But that it works trying it. Okay, thank you. Okay, Liz, what about you?
Okay, the one that I can remember is Ralph Waldo Emerson. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience.
Oh, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. I like that. Thank you. And Lisa, what about you?
You want me?
Seeds. Sorry, Lisa Seeds. Yes, sorry.
It's one that we have up on the lockers in our room, and I put it on my locker, and somebody liked it so much they stole it. It's life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
All right. Okay. All right, Lisa Nowicki, what about you?
How does it go? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Okay. Hell is for hell is for those who are okay. Religion is for those who are scared of going to hell, and spirituality is for those who have been there.
Oh,
Deepak Chopra.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
It's good for today because I had a root canal.
Oh,
So yes, I'm like, oh.
okay. I
Yeah.
hope you feel better. Okay, Matthew, you're last.
I was trying to paraphrase it with Chat GPT, but I couldn't. You reminded me, one of my favorites has always been a Mary Oliver, and it's the poem The Journey. And if I get into it, I mean, basically, I think it's a poem about codependency, and for like nurses, it's, that tendency for us to, just put other people in front of ourselves, and people screaming, mend my life. But the end of it is, as you stroke deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. And I've always loved that. Basically at the end, we just have to take good care of ourselves to do anything first.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. I'm waiting for Tom Mock to join us. And I'll just say one little thing, that today was the birth of a new initiative here in Asheville called the Elder Nurse Corps. And I was struck with I guess a spiritual thing to do this in the summer. And we have about 153,000 RNs in the state of North Carolina. And in order to find out who the nurses were in 9 counties in our western part, you have to buy the whole list, which was $495. But once you get it, then you can cut it up and figure it out. So Mark helped me identify the RNs in 9 western counties. And then I had a small group of people working with me to develop a mission and a vision. and strategies and an agenda. So our first meeting is April 26th from 3 to 5, and we have 2,491 RNs over the age of 60. So we're inviting nurses from 60. The oldest nurse in that cohort is 99. And so we're going to have our first elder nurse corps. We're calling it elder nurse, not retired. Retired means you quit working. Then it was recommended of senior, but senior means old. And then elder means older and wisdom. So that's how we came with elder. And then we're calling it a corps because it's a working group. So we'll see how many people show up on April 26th from 3 to 5 p.m. And Mark's been instrumental in helping me get the mechanics of starting a MailChimp mailing list and getting it all done, plus a few others. So just want to tell you that's happening, and that'll be birthing and showing itself during class for the next several weeks. So we'll see how it goes. So anybody else have any other announcements about anything?
I want to know who is making a priority to see the eclipse, or if anybody's in totality of the eclipse, because that'll happen before next week.
I think we're going to be 83%, so we'll still see, or is it 87%? So we'll still be a hefty amount. But aren't you right smacking 100%?
Yes, ma'am, I am. 100% for a whole 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
But I know we have people from everywhere, so I didn't know who else could see it from where they were.
Anybody else going to see most of it? Nope.
No one else cares, but apparently for me and our city, they tried to make it like it's the end of the world. They literally put out notices. They closed schools. They said, make sure your car tank is full of gas, have extra water. The infrastructure may shut down. And I'm like, what in the world for a 4-minute eclipse? So I didn't know if anybody else was having to deal with that. Okay, just me. Great. Cool. Carry on.
No, but I can say that today we've got some severe weather going on around here, and the meteorologists just eat it up. You know, they're like, okay, and the severe thunderstorm is over Broad Street right now, and it's moving fast. And wait, the rain is now hitting Parham, and oh, it's over to Costco on Broad Street. So, you know, the rain's going to come down, and I'm just like, oh my God, people.
I wonder if they're going to narrate the eclipse that way. Like, it's getting darker and now still darker and darker again. Like,
yeah, I was with my best friend's son who has Down syndrome. And I said, Matt, and he goes, bye, 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 bye. That's all we heard.
Has anybody ever been through an eclipse? Anybody? So everybody who's been through one knows it's like a holy experience, and all the birds go to sleep, and it's just as dark as it can be, and it's like an amazing thing. So I'm so happy you get to see that, Sabrina. That's awesome. So it's awesome.
one of my friends told me today, she was like, take a picture. And I was like, yes, with my phone, I will take a picture of the darkness and just send it to you, a black picture. And she was like, okay.
Oh, that's so funny. It's pretty funny. I was trying to, for those of you all who've also seen eclipse, you know, when the sun goes across all the craters on the moon and it shows up like pearls on the ground. Do you remember what those pearls are called? You see that right before total darkness. It's like light pearls going across the ground. It has something, it's called something pearls, but I forgot. But it's because the light's bouncing off of the craters on the moon. So I can't wait to hear. You have to take good notes and report on that next week. All right, I'm going to call Tom. And yikes, it's 7:14. Where is he? Let's see. Okay, Mark, take it away.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna
I am a SCORE volunteer who has worked under Tom Mock here in Asheville. And it's been an exceptional privilege because here in Asheville, I think we have like 60 mentors. And these are folks that have some exceptional experience. And that business experience, let's see, um, did I get the right screen? Are you seeing SCORE, the website? You are? Okay, good. Um, so SCORE, the website is a great place to start um, for all of us because the SCORE website has really been enhanced during the years. SCORE is an acronym for the Service Corps of Retired Executives, although many aren't retired but have skill sets they want to contribute to the community. So in a moment, we'll look at the mentors for Asheville, or I can take another zip code and we'll drill into it. There, the availability of becoming a SCORE mentor is always available. SCORE is a volunteer arm of the Small Business Association of America, SBA. And the mentoring that you receive is 100% confidential. So I'm going to start off with here in Asheville doing a zip code 28801 search, and entering the zip code should take me to, there we go, to a menu that lists the mentors that are available. Okay, so I'm not sure what's happening with the system, so I'm just going to do a search for Asheville SCORE mentors.
Your one didn't show up. That's what happened with your zip code.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought it was truncated in there, but yeah, okay. So it would eventually take you to a metro location in the proximity of that zip code. And again, SCORE is available throughout the country. Just like the national site, there is Find a Mentor, Become a Volunteer. Our service area isn't just Asheville, it's also what's called the high country area of Western North Carolina. And let's see, the business goals, when I click Find a Mentor, you have the ability to again search for by a zip code. I'm just going to click on Browsing by Mentors, and right now there are 27 individuals that have an online profile. Many of the mentors, the gentleman that we're waiting on, his name is Thomas Mock. Should be here in a moment. That is his background. Oops. And it goes through all of the different mentors. Now, there are many of them, and I had my profile up a little while ago, so let me see if it's still there. But if you notice on the top, there is a keyword search, which is nice. So I would also advise not only to search for a business mentor, but maybe look for let's see what we have here under patient advocacy. I don't think that level of granularity for Asheville is going to come up. For Asheville, so no, there's no search results for Asheville, but I can go across the country. So I don't have to be in that area. We all work out of the same it's called Salesforce. It's a system that helps to track, our engagement. So interestingly, when I type in a search for patient advocacy, there are 25 results. And these are individuals that have some sort of service, and in their keyword search, they have patient advocacy as part of their skill sets in there. So in summary, what I like to do is to read up a little bit about these mentors. Your mentorship can change. If you're not happy or you want additional information, you can certainly request another mentor. You do want to be respectful that if you obligate a time and date that you appear. If you're going to do it in video, you can meet in person. It can be in telephone. We can mentor as through email, but for the initial meeting, that's kind of hard because voice and seeing an individual sets an environment to where we can understand quickly and effectively what is happening in regards to your specific needs. So even though I search for patient advocacy, maybe my weakness is in marketing. And when I change the search to marketing to Asheville, let's see what happens. Oh, didn't like the search. So that there is a diversity of business topics that's available. And again, this is part of a free service for the mentors. So here in Asheville, these are the 10 individuals, including Thomas Mock, our guest speaker for tonight, who provide some degree of marketing assistance. And here's my profile for Asheville, North Carolina. I kind of do mentoring around the Google ecosystem, to get your business online like you saw last week. And I'll, through my experiences with the James Cash Penney Company, J.C. Penney, as a retail merchandiser, working for Pitney Bowes, Lowe's corporate office, these Fortune 50 companies, I've kind of developed these skill sets. So it's common, like even today, I got a request from an individual that specifically asked for me because she needed help around a website. This one client is in Black Mountain, and I will meet with her online tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So finding a mentor is something that the website does very, very well with. I know Karen has mentioned before, and we will have a guest speaker by the name of Sarah Bignon. Sarah does workshops and events for SCORE in conjunction with the Small Business Center, SBC, of our local community college. So here comes Tom, and I do encourage you to do some searches for workshops and events. Get on the email distribution list so you see what becomes available for you on the SCORE resources. So Tom, I took our guest to the website to introduce them to the website, SCORE Mentor search by topic, and so grateful you could join us and provide leadership this afternoon. Karen, how would you like to proceed? All right, we got you muted.
Karen, you're muted. Looks like you're still muted, Karen.
That's the problem, Tom. I was muted. Can I introduce you?
Oh, certainly.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen real fast, and I'm going to tell you about Tom. and I'm being overrun by a cat down here. So let's see here. Here we go. Here's Tom. So Tom is a retired, well, he is the chair of the Asheville, North Carolina SCORE chapter, and he's a retired marketing communications executive from the telecommunications industry. And his most recent time is running corporate marketing and PR for a $2.5 billion communications equipment manufacturer in the DC area. And his experience includes corporate marketing, market research, product marketing, PR, investor relations, and product management. And he has a BSEE, that's a BS in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech, and he's been with SCORE for 6 years, and he's been the chapter chair here in Asheville for 5 years. And Tom, what else do you want to say about yourself before we get started?
Probably the only thing I'll say is I've recently become the district director for North Carolina for SCORE. So if any of you are in other areas of North Carolina, we can definitely help you. So one of the things that Karen always asks me to do is to tell you guys a little bit about what SCORE can do for you. You guys are typically going into private practice, which means you're basically setting up a small business, and you probably spent a lot of your time learning how to do your craft and haven't spent a lot of your time understanding how to run a business and all the things that might entail. So we're an organization that can basically provide you with a mentor that will help you figure out all the things you need to do to get your business started, how you want to structure your business, if it's a sole proprietorship, if it's an LLC, if it's an S Corp. We can help you figure out how to set up your books. We can help you figure out how to market your business. We can help you understand how to pitch your services to your customers. We can help you understand how to price your services and things like that. So, it's an all volunteer organization and it's a free service. So it's something that we encourage a lot of people in your position to do, because you've spent a lot of time learning how to do your craft, but not necessarily a lot of time learning how to do your business. So typically one of the things we start with people is helping them understand that one of the first set of questions you want to ask yourself about your business is kind of, where do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want your business to look like? And then from that, we can figure out, how to chart a path to help you get there. What actions do you need to take to get there? We can help you figure out how much working capital you may need to get your business off the ground. We can help you identify funding resources that you might need to also help get your business off the ground. We can help you figure out how, once you get to a point where you want to bring other people into your organization, if you want to have, somebody to schedule your appointments, or you want to bring somebody else in to help with your organization, we can help you with the things that it takes to get all that set up. So it's a pretty comprehensive service. The other thing I'll offer up is we offer about 25 classes a year in a variety of different areas that help small businesses. So for example, we offer classes in digital marketing. We offer classes in basic bookkeeping. We offer classes in financial planning. So if you're interested in any of those are typically 3-hour classes that are held on a Saturday. And again, they're free. You can find out more about that by going to asheville.score.org. SCORE is also a nationwide organization, so I don't know how many of you are in North Carolina, but we have chapters all over North America. So pretty much anywhere in the United States, you can find a chapter in your area and get somebody local to work with you. There are also a huge amount of resources, as Mark was sharing as I joined the call, that are on our national website. So for example, if you want to put together a business plan, there's a template for that. If you want to figure out how to do digital marketing, there's a plan for that. If you want to set up your business as a nonprofit, there's information on how to do that. If you want to look at crowdsourcing to fund part of your business, there are ways to do that. If you want to explore different other funding options for your business, there are ways to do that as well. So let me pause for a minute. I've thrown a lot of information out there and see if you guys have any questions.
So, Tom, I think it'd be great if they went around and introduced themselves and tell you what state they're from, because they're from all over.
That would be perfect.
Okay, so Luann, why don't you start and I'll just call on everybody subsequently, okay?
So my name is Luann, as Karen said, and I go between California and Wyoming. And those two states are very different in the way you would maybe try to, market yourself. So this is a good class.
Yeah, one of the other things I would suggest, Luann, is you may want to look at people in both states because the regulatory environments in both states are different.
Yes.
And the registration requirements are different, and the taxation laws are different and things like that. So,
Okay, thank you. And Sonia, tell Tom about you.
Hi, Tom. My name is Sonia, and I'm from Ada, Oklahoma. I live on the Chickasaw. I guess now it's called Reservation. We got half of our state back a couple years ago. So, but yeah, I have an indigenous population that I'm wanting to reach out to.
well, one of the things SCORE can help you do, I suspect there are financing options as well as other support options for indigenous populations. I know here in North Carolina, we have a number of programs that are targeted at the Cherokee Nation, which is based here in Western North Carolina. So you may want to talk to the local SCORE people in Oklahoma to see what kinds of things are available for you there. It can be financing, it can be preferential treatment in government contracts. There are a variety of different things you probably want to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And this is Lisa Seeds. So Lisa, introduce yourself.
Hey, Tom. I'm Lisa Seeds, obviously, she said. I'm in Chesterfield, Virginia. And we have been, Jennifer Camacho and myself have been looking at different venues to take and how to facilitate us in this particular market in this area.
Yeah, so one of the things that SCORE might be able to help you with, typically most of the chapters have somebody who's got some experience in commercial real estate. So they may be able to help you with, with figuring out what sort of venue you want to set up. Where exactly in Pennsylvania are you?
No, Virginia.
Oh, sorry, Virginia. What part of Virginia
Richmond,
do you know?
Richmond area.
Okay, yeah, there's a chapter in Richmond that you should probably reach out to.
Okay,
And they can definitely help you with that.
great. Thank you.
Okay, Liz Dinsley.
That's me. I am in Loveland, Colorado, which is northern Colorado near Fort Collins. There is a college, CSU, up here, and I am curious about assisting college age kids that are newly away from home that might have health issues and supporting them.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm pretty sure Colorado has a similar program to what North Carolina has. We have two different state support organizations for people starting small businesses. One is run by the community college system and one is run by the state university system. And both of them are targeted at helping small businesses get started and to connect with their audiences. So if they're, you may want to reach out to the university that you're close to there, or reach out to the community college. Typically, the community colleges in the states do more kind of nuts and bolts getting a business started. And the university system affiliates typically do more things like import, export, technology commercialization, things like that. So both of those are resources that are probably available in your area, and they're generally free.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Jennifer, anything you want to add?
As Lisa Seeds mentioned earlier, I'm in Richmond, Virginia. My name is Jennifer. I've been an operating room nurse for 31 years. And Lisa and I plan on teaming together and hopefully using a lot of these resources. to get things kicked off. I have a 2-year goal. I'm not sure what Lisa's is, if I'm gonna drag her with me the whole time, but we're working on a trade name right now and securing that down. And my husband's an IT geek, so I talked to him about website, building a website and all that kind of fun stuff. So we will definitely be resourcing a lot, hopefully in the next 6 months, getting everything together.
Yeah, one of the things I notice here is most of the people on this call are women. In most states, there are organizations that provide financing for women-owned organizations. So if you guys are in the need for financing, you may want to check that out in your state. If you're in North Carolina, there's an organization called Western Women's Business Center that operates in Western North Carolina. They're part of a state-funded organization, the Carolina Small Business Development Fund, but pretty much every state has a similar kind of thing. And the states do that as a way of supporting small businesses because they see that as an economic development engine. So I would definitely do a quick Google search in your area to see what kind of support there is for women-owned small businesses. You can also find a lot of that information on the SBA's website.
What does SBA stand for? Small Business Association?
Small Business Administration.
Administration. Okay. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
SBA.gov is where you want to go to look.
Can you also tell me real quick again what SCORE stands for?
Well, it originally was the Service Corps of Retired Executives, but we decided that sounded a little too fussy, so we're now just SCORE.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Anything else for Tom? Okay. Okay, Sabrina, what about you?
I am Sabrina, like the movie, like the witch, and I live in North Central Arkansas. I'm probably a little more rural than most of the people here, by choice. But yes, I'm still looking forward to being part of whatever SCORE organization is available to me.
Yeah, there's a SCORE chapter in Little Rock you should probably reach out to. And that they, again, they can provide a lot of the resources that we talked about. They can also help you, as I was talking with some of the other people here on the call, connect you with local resources in your area that can provide financing or other kinds of support help.
Great.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa Nowicki, what about you?
Hi, Tom. I'm from Orlando, Florida. Yeah, great information so far you're offering. Can you please, what was the OR in the original SCORE again? I missed that.
Retired.
Retired. Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but you'll find most SCORE people are retired. Probably about 10% of our membership is still employed, but most of us are retired. And we're typically people who have 25 plus years experience in our respective fields. So one of the things that you can get from SCORE that you can't get from a community college or a place like that is a level of experience in a particular area. My background is marketing and PR, and I did that for close to 30 years. Most chapters have people who can do marketing, accounting, financial planning, legal, sales, digital marketing, things like that. So, when you reach out to your SCORE chapter, just be clear about what kind of help you need, and they can connect you with somebody who can help you. And there's a big chapter in Orlando, so.
Okay, good.
And Tom, what
right.
is the typical intake process? Can
Yeah,
you give them an
typically
overview?
the easiest way to get help from SCORE is to go to score.org. There'll be you'll see a link to click on that's Find a Mentor, and you'll typically enter your zip code, and they'll connect you with the chapter that's closest to you. You'll fill out a form that basically says what you're looking for, and then that chapter will assign somebody who can help you with the particular issue you've got. For you guys, you're just getting started. So probably, I'd basically probably just look for somebody who can help me get my business plan together, figure out what kinds of financial resources I might need, and then how I want to position and market my business in the local market.
Okay. We have one more student to ask, and then we can fire away at you with multiple questions. Matthew, introduce yourself.
Hi, Tom. My name is Matthew, and I live between Albuquerque and Santa Fe in New Mexico. And I'm a family nurse practitioner. I've just left more of a corporate situation over the last 5 years. I'm independent now. I'm working in a holistic practice in Santa Fe, but I'm an independent contractor and trying to build a really strong online practice inside that. And really where I'm kind of floundering now is I've always walked into situations where everything's been set up for me before. Here I'm just starting at the basics and having to create every system, every telemedicine, all the prescribing, all the credentialing. It's a lot of work. So I'm just trying to stay organized and kind of one step at a time and not go broke while I'm getting everything ramped up.
Yeah, the areas where we may be able to help you most is kind of getting the back end of your business set up and also figuring out how to market yourself. If you're going to do primarily telemedicine, how do you reach out to your clients and get them to know who you are? When it comes to the details of setting up your particular practice, there may not be people in your area who have experience in, how to set up a telemedicine system and stuff like that, or how to set up a billing system for that. But what they can help with is the infrastructure behind your business. Now, one of the advantages of an organization like SCORE is we have 10,000 volunteers nationwide. So if you do have a specific problem in that area, whoever your mentor is in northern New Mexico can probably find somebody somewhere else in the country, who's got expertise in the area that you need.
Okay, cool. So I'll just do the intake and then let one thing lead to the next. So
Yep.
thank you. Okay.
So Tom, do you have time to show us how to navigate the website for now?
Yeah, I do. Let me real quickly pull it up and then I'll share my screen.
I hired a virtual assistant using SCORE. And I went to the national website and then looked at their educational offerings. And, you just free associate and type in virtual assistant. And I couldn't believe how many programmed videos that were on about hiring a virtual assistant. It was so helpful.
Glad to hear that. So can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah. Yes.
So if you type in score.org, this is where you're going to land. And, if you want to request a mentor, you can see enter a zip code here. You basically enter your zip code and your request will be sent to the SCORE chapter that's nearest you. You can also request a mentor by skill set. If you have a very specific need, you can search the nationwide database to find out if there's a mentor, even if they're not in your area, that might have expertise in your area. One of the things I find, though, that's most useful for people when they're just getting started is to use the search feature just to search. Let's say I want to do a business plan. So I can just type that in the search, execute the search. And what you'll find here is you can find a whole bunch of different resources, but I can also go in and I can filter by content type. Like if I want a course or I want an event to attend, or I want a success story, I can find, I can filter down by that. By format, it can be an article, a blog post, a checklist, an e-guide. So let's say, for example, you're looking for a business plan template. So here now I've got a couple of different templates that we can pull up about writing a business plan, an outline. So let's look at this first one around a business plan template. So basically here you can download the template that has an outline and instructions for putting in all the different pieces, and also has fillable worksheets for things like putting your financials together. So these are the different sections there that you see that particular business plan would include. I can also do a search for, let's do financial plan.
And Tom, I think like Matthew said, you know, we all want to be organized, and one common thread that I request when I mentor anybody is that business plan. It feels like something laborious to do, but in the long run, once you establish a business plan, periodically update it, it becomes an invaluable tool to assist, in this case, a mentor to understand the context of where you are and to help you find opportunities.
That's a very good point. I mean, a lot of people build their business plan and then they don't ever consult it again. It basically, your business plan is kind of your target that you want to hit. So one of the advantages of going back periodically and examining where you are relative to that is to figure out whether you're progressing towards your goals. And if not, you know, is your strategy wrong, or your tactics wrong, or your projections wrong? So going back and revisiting that a couple of times a year is a very helpful thing to do. So if we want to look at, for example, a financial planning template, let me pull this up real quick. You can get templates for marketing. You can get financial projections template. I'm going to pull that up. So this basically, what this is basically providing you is an Excel workbook that will generate, you know, the 4 basic financial statements for you. So you can enter various elements about your business, and then you can fill that in, and it will actually generate pro forma financial projections for you. So those are the kinds of things that you can get off of this site. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to navigate because it can be there's just a lot out there and it can be hard to sort through it. But if you're patient, you can find a lot of good information out there. There are also webinars that are recorded that you can watch. If you go to the website for the chapter in your area, you'll find out whether they have local educational events you can attend, or they may have live webinars you can attend. And then the national organization also does live webinars on topics like starting a business, how to do digital marketing, how to use social media in your business, and things like that.
I think Karen would agree. We have to continuously remind ourselves that financial statement becomes so important, because we all want to do things in the kindness of our heart, but as a small business individual, you have to look at your income, your expenses. A small business startup generally takes 2 years to become soluble, depending on the type of business. But that's the discipline that's involved in there and necessary when you're starting to do the accounting.
Yeah, I mean, only 50% of small businesses getting started make it past the second year, and most of them don't make it past the second year because they haven't done financial planning properly. You know, they haven't figured out if their business has a seasonal component, and as a result, they need to have money set aside to get through the lean times. They haven't properly estimated the working capital they need to get their business off the ground. So, you know, I think Mark's right. You need to pay a lot of attention, at least initially, to making sure the financial resources for your business are sound.
I will tell you an ethical dilemma I have with my business is that I have about half of my clients can afford my $150 an hour, and the other half can't afford hardly anything. And when they call, they're in horrific crises and they don't have any income, or so I will negotiate and say, well, how much can you afford? And sometimes it's $10, $25. And so the work I do is very heart-centered because I can't stand the thought of turning someone away. And initially I offered 1 hour free of consultation, and that got to be, I felt like I knew people were taking advantage of me because then they would never come back. So now I've worked it out so I do half hour, 30 minutes for free. And then to be able to say to people out loud that I charge $150 an hour, and I had to go to therapy to be able to say that because
It's really tough. I don't know. I can't tell you the number of people I have who are clients who are in that situation. And the one thing I always tell them is that you can't help people if your business isn't successful.
that's a
You-
great
You've got
point.
to, you've got to figure out how to get your business successful first. And then you can figure out how you can help other people as a result. But if you focus on helping other people without getting paid first, you won't make it. And if
Exactly.
your object is to help people, you have to have a sustainable business.
Absolutely. So I just want to say that out loud to everyone that there are horrific stories about horrible patient care issues, especially with people who are impoverished or communities that are, are just extremely poor. So, and I treasure what you just said, Tom, because if you have to have a business in order to help people. I really like that quote.
Yeah,
I
the
like it.
other thing I would suggest is, keep a list, and we do this at SCORE, because there are a lot of problems we can't solve for people. So we keep a list of other community resources that we can refer people to. And that just makes it a little easier because you don't feel like you're saying absolutely no to the person. What you're saying is,
Mhm,
I can't help you right now, but here's somebody who might be able to.
mhm, mhm. That's good. I get a lot of people who call who have no health insurance and they might have a catastrophic illness. And so then, the fallback here is to apply for Medicaid, and thank goodness our state has agreed to go to use Medicaid, but that's a biggie. Health insurance not have enough dollars to even go to the doctor's office. So just saying out loud to all of you that you will face these issues where you are also. Other issues. I want to tell you my virtual assistant story. So it's during COVID, and everybody knows this, that everybody on earth is short-staffed, and they're especially short-staffed now. And they're short-staffed in doctors' offices. There's all kinds of articles about physician office staff make an average of $18 an hour, and that would be for the front desk staff, the scheduling staff, and the assistants who turn over the rooms. And so then when you're driving down the road in Asheville and Wendy's has got a marquee that says $20 per hour for closing, and they're making more than a physician office staff, it's really hard. So anyway, I went to SCORE and they had oodles and oodles of suggestions. And then there's a couple of companies you can go to advertise for virtual assistants. And of course, when you hire a virtual assistant, you've got to have a job description for a virtual assistant. So I had job descriptions for unit secretaries and such in the hospital. But anyway, I ended up hiring 2 people. And one wanted to work a little bit and the other one wanted to work a little bit. So I hired both of them, and they were both very excellent, but they both quit without a notice. So I thought that was very odd. And then I started hearing that a lot of people ghost their employers when they get something else. So it's a very interesting set of circumstances going on about virtual assistants. I don't know. Have you had an experience with that, Tom, at all?
Yeah, we haven't personally, because we've actually, our admin is an employee, but the virtual assistant is kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, you get somebody where you don't have to make a long-term commitment and you don't have to make a 40-hour-a-week commitment. On the other hand, they can all, they're the same way. They can turn up tomorrow and say no. The one thing I typically tell people though is that if you go through a virtual assistant agency, or you go to a virtual assistant company that provides a number of different virtual assistants, the advantage of that is that if the one that you're working with can't work with you anymore, they've got somebody else who can. So you're not, so you're not suddenly in a panic situation. And you may pay a little bit more for that, but at the same time, you get a little security out of it. The real beauty of a virtual assistant is you don't have to worry about having an employee. You don't have to worry about payroll taxes and all that sort of stuff. So I typically talk to people as they're starting businesses about, before you think about bringing on an administrative employee, you may want to think about a virtual assistant, before you take that step. And at some point it will become clear, if you've got a virtual assistant working for you 20 hours a week, it may be time to consider an employee. But at least it's a way to get started without A, having to make a commitment, and B, being very flexible in the amount of time that you give these people.
All of that is very true. Very true.
And Tom, what thoughts and comments do you have on digital literacy? We live in a society, as an example for myself, I started doing some work in Madison County. I'm finding people that are just now getting email addresses, and the world has definitely shifted to more of becoming a digital citizen. The business world is also in that capacity. What thoughts or comments do you have on that?
Yeah, I mean, all the things we've talked about here, things like virtual assistants and all that, require a certain level of digital literacy. And it's tough because there are a lot of communities where that's not, that's just not something that's commonplace. But as you're looking for people to work in your business, that's something you need to pay pretty careful attention to, because, most of you, I suspect, are going to have some level of clients who present to you virtually. And so whoever you've got who's helping you doing the scheduling and back office and things like that needs to be able to handle that sort of thing.
Any other questions for Tom about anything that you can possibly imagine? And I will say, it is much cheaper to hire a contract person with no benefits. And then as you get busier, then you can hire somebody with more benefits. And
just be careful as you do that. The IRS is pretty sticky on that. So, if you're hiring somebody where you're giving them tasks and they're able to just complete those tasks, and you're not their only employer, then that's pretty clearly a contractor. If you're their primary employer, you're providing them the tools to work, and you're giving them day-to-day guidance, then they're probably an employee.
Mm-hmm.
yes, thank you for that. Is there anything else anybody wants to add or ask about a burning question you might have with getting help with something? There's also tutoring videos on SCORE that I found really helpful. So like Tom said, there's lots of different mechanisms of giving you the education you need. So
Yeah, the other thing I'll point out is, in addition to SCORE, there are all kinds of, typically most states have at least a small business center network. So just, spend a little bit of time finding out what free resources exist in your state to help small businesses, because most states have at least one network of mentors in addition to SCORE. And just because you use one resource doesn't mean you can't use others. I always counsel my clients to reach out to as many of these resources as you can, because your tax dollars are paying for those.
Additionally, Tom, I'd like to add too, it's a perfect opportunity for, Luann, Lisa, each one of y'all to practice your elevator pitch. As you get introduced to a SCORE mentor, practice that 30-second pitch, and you'll be surprised how you continue to refine it. You'll get some feedback from especially the SCORE mentors on how it can be improved, and that becomes part of your network building. May it be business clients or professional opportunities in your healing network, as Karen says.
any other questions for Tom tonight that you can think? Well, yes,
Lisa.
Lisa Nowicki. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one. You had talked about the template that was available on SCORE for our business plan.
Mhm.
And then you talked about use of a financial statement Is that the financial statement, is that included in the template with the business plan? I'm kind of, if this is a dumb question, I apologize. I just don't know much about business. So I wondered if that.
Yeah. Typically
it.
what you want to do in your business plan is you want to
Mm-hmm.
describe your business, basically the purpose of a business plan is to help you figure out, first of all, how you want to structure your business
Mhm.
and what your financial projections are, because what your financial projections are going to say a lot about what kind of resources you can make available to your business. What kind of things you can afford to do in your business, how fast you can grow your business. So you typically want to have a business plan that has financial projections, but also has a lot of things about why your business is going to be successful. So for example, why is your particular practice going to work in your area? Is there sufficient market for the service you're trying to give in your particular area? So if you can answer those kinds of questions and put it together in a business plan, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big formal plan, but you do need to have thought through all of those issues before you start to put money into your business.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Out of curiosity, is there anybody that has a 30-second small business pitch to give to Tom real quick? Anybody want to practice their elevator pitch real quick? And in the context of this, I actually used to do some SCORE Google workshops, and Google provided this little card that I thought was really, really neat, and it made it easier to make that icebreaker to start off with the phrase "new to the world of healthcare." ... And I think each and every one of you have a unique attribute of what you are doing and contributing to healthcare, and can easily build that opening pitch. So does anybody want to try that? New to healthcare in my area, what is the service that's going to be delivered for your business?
I think we can do that maybe next week. We'll break out into dyads and say it to each other, and then it's growing your confidence to be able to say that out loud and to have those words available. So we'll work on that also here.
Yeah, one of the things that I would leave you with on that, though, is as you think about your value proposition, it's a little counterintuitive, but you want to think about defining your market as narrowly as possible, because when you define your market narrowly, you can more specifically address the needs of your customers, and you can make it easier to differentiate yourself from other competitors. And it's okay to have multiple different pitches to address different markets. So for example, you might have a pitch for senior clients. You might have a pitch for single mother clients. But the point there is you're trying to help them understand why you can do this better than somebody else can.
All right. Any other questions for Tom before we take a break? Tom, we are so grateful to have you and your wisdom.
And I'm so apologetic for having put this on my calendar for the wrong day.
It's all good. We're just glad you came. Are you kidding? We're glad you came, and you have so much wisdom. And is your office at the downtown Asheville?
No, we've
school?
actually moved out to AB Tech's Anka campus.
Have you really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
where the score.
Yeah, they have
Okay.
a small business center out there, and we're part of that.
Okay. It's great. It's great. All right. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It was great to meet you guys. Thanks for having me.
I'll be calling you back in another 6 months or so. Okay.
Take care, Karen.
Okay. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So it's we'll say it's 8:03. So we'll come back about 8:10. Does that work for you all? Get 7 whole minutes? Yay. All right. Go enjoy your break. All righty. Can everybody hear me? All right. Sonia, I just ordered you another book. I don't know where the one that was delivered to you went. I can't find it. Kind of weird.
Then I
This-
have fixed Pathright too, Karen. There was a error message on the video link. That's been
Okay.
corrected and should be functional now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So your book is going to arrive April 5th, okay? Sonia? Okay. All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is Greg Lathrop. So hold on a minute, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so this is Greg Lathrop. He is our next speaker, and he is an RN dying care advocate. He is a registered nurse and a heart math coach trainer. He was also co-host of Death Cafe here in Asheville for many years, and he is a group leader for the International Association of Near-Death Experiences here. And that's a really fascinating area of work he's doing. I'll let him tell you about that. He also works for a nonprofit organization here called the Center for Conscious Living and Dying. He is a medicine elder with the Oklahoma Native American Church. He is a musician, a singer, songwriter, a Native American flute player. He has an associate degree in nursing from Southwest Community College. And he's got 40 years of nursing experience, including as a chief flight nurse for the Mountain Area Medical Airlift team here we had, associated with Mission Hospital, which has now been purchased by HCA. He was a hospice nurse for 13 or 14 years and worked with Care Partners Hospice, a local hospice area. He's also been a holistic nurse specialist working in integrative health services, also with Mission Health. And now he is an elder on the Elder Council for the Center for Conscious Living and Dying. So I am going to stop sharing and introduce Greg Lathrop. He's also my husband. So I just want to tell you that.
There's that.
And then there's that.
I'm in the other room.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a pleasure to be with all of you and to see you all for the first time ever.
Yep,
And,
I recognize the backdrop.
yeah. This is the other room. Yeah. So, well, it's a pleasure to be with you all tonight and to do something completely different than what you were just spending your time listening to Tom about and all of his wealth of wisdom related to SCORE. And there's a bunch there. But
So
we're going to
Greg,
talk.
would you like to be introduced to all these lovely people before you speak?
Didn't you just do that?
Yeah, but you didn't get to hear it, did you?
Yeah,
Did you?
I heard it.
Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind. Goodbye.
I was listening.
Okay, good.
It was all fine.
Great.
So what we're going to try to accomplish in the next 45 minutes or so now is we're going to talk about we're going to focus on resilience and self-regulation. And so what I want to ask is there anyone in here, or if you have any awareness at all about a organization known as the Institute of Heart Math? You could just raise your real hand. Okay. Yeah, good. So we're going to focus on the research of heart math. And they're going to do this in relation to, like I said, the key word is going to be resilience and self-regulation. And so what I would like to do, Karen, is to make sure I can share my screen. Can I do that?
I'm going to make you a co-host. Actually, Mark, can you make him a co-host, or do I delete my co-host so he can be a co-host?
Could I be the co-host of the co-host?
Hold on, we're gonna let Mark tell us. I don't know if you can have
He's
more than
co-host
two.
now. It's set
Okay.
up. Yes.
All right, terrific, wonderful.
But which co-host am I? I'm just messing with you. Okay, let's see what we can find here. So I'm going to share a screen. Okay, and I want to get this up. Let's go back again. Let's try this one more time. That's what I want right there. Okay. So I had an opportunity to study with HeartMath quite a few years back. I would say it was around almost 10 years ago. Actually, right at 10 years ago. And so we're doing this because for you, rather than something that you can certainly offer this to those you're serving in your role as an advocate in relation to their ability to self-regulate and to find resilience in the middle of whatever is going on with regards to the fact that they feel like that they have to have or they need a nurse advocate. My sense in nurse advocacy is that you're not being called when everything is peachy keen. That's not the time that you're being called in. When someone says, I need a nurse advocate, it is generally from my witnessing and some of my experience as well, it's when things are not moving along in the way that they hoped they would be for lots of reasons that I'm sure you're learning about and have already experienced in your practice. They're just not in that peachy keen place. And it could be related to the goals that they have for themselves are not being met, or they don't have any information. They don't know what's going on. They don't feel like they're having the kinds of conversations that they would like to have with their health care team. All of the many reasons why someone is in a state of, I'm just going to paraphrase by using a state of conflict. There's a conflict that's happening. And so that is why we're going to talk about resilience and self-regulation. And we're going to talk about it first from your own personal perspective. And so the first thing we're going to do right now, if you should choose to participate, is I want you to just take a moment to focus on your breath and allow the breath to become a little bit deeper and a little bit longer and a little slower. Begin to breathe a little deeper, a little longer, and a little slower. As much as 5 seconds to breathe in and 5 seconds to breathe out, or somewhere in there. Not to make yourself uncomfortable, not trying to puff yourself up, but simply allowing the breath to become a focus, embodied attention with focused breath. Begin here. Focus on the center of your chest where the heart is contained. Focus on the heart space. And breathe into that space as you are breathing slower and deeper and longer. Now, this is something that's really so easy that it's hard. Because it means we have to come into present. We have to be here in order to do this. And we have to quiet down perhaps the chatter that's going on in our brain, which might say things like, oh, I don't have time to do this right now. But we do. If you have time to breathe, you have time to do this. Focusing on the heart space in the center of the chest and breathing a 10-second cycle of respiration. 4 to 5 seconds in, 5 to 6 seconds out. The eyes don't need to be closed. We can do this while we're driving. We don't need incense and sitars. I like them, but we don't need them for this. This is the very beginning of what it is to start looking at self-regulation and the result of resilience. This is why we're here right now. The objectives are based on the research of HeartMath. HeartMath has been doing research in self-regulation and physiological resilience for over 30 years. And that is what this little bit of time that we're going to be talking about is based on. Everything in here is based on the case studies that they've been doing over the years. And this is related to what has been replicated in the research over and over again in relation to what we have the opportunity to do for ourselves and for those we're serving in relation to finding a state of being resilient. We can increase our energy levels, and increasing our resilience, we're looking at the fact that we can think more clearly under pressure. This was happening when I was flying. I remember about some of this early research. It's been long ago enough now that HeartMath was a brand new thing. But the idea of thinking clearly under pressure makes sense when you're when you're at 500,000 feet in the air and you're trying to do some trauma resuscitation. And so then we can also maintain our situational awareness better. We can decrease symptoms of personal and professional stress, which shows itself as confusion, fatigue, often inability to sleep, or in patterns of a lifestyle that try to numb out the kinds of things that we're experiencing in our work life, which is not all that helpful for maintaining a resilient life. And we can improve our reaction times and coordination. And that's just the beginning. So when we talk about resilience, let's look at the definition of that. What I would ask you to consider is how is it that when you're resilient, what do you notice about yourself? Now, this is all going to be kind of quiet right now instead of conversation. It's harder to get real conversation on Zoom. But think about that question. When you're resilient, what do you notice about yourself? And how do you define resilience for yourself? What does that mean to you to be resilient? In relation to that, sometimes I've heard, and I've even said for myself, that there's the idea that resilience is the ability to bounce back, the ability to re-emerge from where I was, like a rubber band. Stretch, stretch, stretch. I'm stretched too far, but I can bounce back to where I began. That's one idea of resilience, but what HeartMath started studying and looking at was it's more than just bouncing back. Ultimately, when we start talking about resilience, one of the key words is capacity. What is our capacity? The capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt. Again, the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, or adversity. What we would like to do is learn how to build our resilience capacity to sustain our energy. This is the capacity and energy come together in this. So our capacity is how much of something that we have. So when we look at our capacity, we want to know how much capacity do we have. And you can think of your resilience as the amount of energy that you have stored. So the capacity of energy that you have available to you is what we're talking about. You see this graphic of a battery. It's the inner battery. What's your battery life? And your battery life in the physical body is related to the amount of energy that you have available. Because basically we are energy systems. That's what we are in this physical body and even beyond, if we want to go and take a look at that as well. We are energy systems that expend and renew energy. And so we're looking at a system that is in flow. What is happening with regards to our energy system as we move along through the day. And when I think about capacity, I'll give you an example about resilience in the way that I have found myself when I make appointments to be with people who are busy in their work all day. For instance, if today's the day that I need to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles so that I can get my license tag renewed, I choose always to go in the morning. Because that environment is such an interesting environment. I don't know if your DMV is such the environment that I'm going to describe here, but I have found it to be a very common kind of an example of what we feel when we go into the DMV office. And that is lots of people and lots of potential irritation. A lot of people having to do something they don't want to do. And then the clerks, if they're not in a particularly resilient place, not really being able to deal with that in a really effective way. And so we get into this back and forth. That's the kind of energy I often feel in the DMV office. So I like to go early in the morning because I want to go when their capacity, their inner battery life is very high. Because when we have the resilience that we're talking about here, then we're able to move more efficiently and easier through the challenges that are in front of us. You know, I don't want to go to the dentist at 5 o'clock in the afternoon either. I would rather go in the morning because that's when someone, not too early, but in that prime time, late morning, where there's that feeling of, okay, we're doing it now and we're getting into the day. I've still got a lot of energy to do this, rather than waiting until the end of the day. That's an idea that I have for myself only, and I can only take responsibility for my words for me. But those are the things I think about when I think about resilience. I want to be where there is the greatest chance of those I'm working with to have a very high energy state, and their capacity of energy is very full. Okay. And this is what we're talking about in our work in nursing as well. Now, when we talk about resilience, there are several domains. This is what we call the holy self. And we can spell that WHOLLY, holy self. This is we can talk about the many bodies that we have. We have the physical body, we have the emotional body, we have the mental body, and we have the spiritual body. And so all of them interrelate with each other at all times. Okay. And so in relation to that, it's important to know that the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and the attributes you can see up there on the screen, you can see that if we have high resilience in the physical domain, we have physical flexibility, we have increased endurance, we have increased strength. This is when the battery is full. And the mental body, we have mental flexibility. Our attention span is highly focused. We can focus, and we can multitask, or we can incorporate multiple points of view. Okay. And you can look at the emotional and the spiritual aspects of that as well. And you can see these elements that relate to being, and what in the center is what we call a coherent state of being. So we're looking for coherence. This is another key word. Now let's talk about capacity and building capacity. When we're building capacity physically, what is it that we do to build capacity? Well, what we do physically when we want to build endurance and strength is we are doing those things physically, running or push-ups or lifting weights, or those many ways that we are creating physical resilience and physical capacity for strength and endurance. And what we generally do is we do a little bit more each time, which creates more strength and more endurance. So if I can run a mile, then maybe next time I'm going to run a mile and a half or something like that. All right. So this is about increasing our capacity for emotional resilience, the emotional capacity of being able to be available. Because emotionally, what I want to say about emotions is emotions are the primary drivers of physiology. This is important for us to remember. Our physiology is primarily driven by our emotions, not the other way around. Okay. And so we want to find a coherent state. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Okay. An example, this is an actual a case study that was done for a man who was wearing a 24-hour Holter monitor in relation to looking at some heart rate tracings, heart rhythm tracings. And we're going to talk about those tracings in more detail. But essentially, the reason he was wearing the Holter monitor was so that they could just continually monitor his heart activity during the period of the study. And he would also document, well, at this time, I'm doing this, so they would correlate what they found on the Holter monitor regarding his heart rate, and they would relate that to the experiences that he remembers having at that time. In this particular scenario, what was happening was he was sitting in the passenger front seat of a car with his seatbelt on, and he was sitting in the car and his wife was driving. And they were driving down the road and they got into what he said, we got into a heated argument while we were driving. While she was driving and we got into an argument. And so what happened is they could point to when the argument started exactly, because what happened was his heart rate immediately started increasing up to over 140 beats per minute as an average. And it stayed elevated for about 15 minutes. And it was at that 15-minute mark, he said, well, we argued, we were arguing most of the way to where we were going. And that was about 15 minutes, and then it resolved. And so then when it resolved, the heart rate did show itself to decrease. However, you may notice that the baseline of the heart rate for another 30 minutes was elevated above what it started at in the very beginning. I think you can see that. And so this was all emotionally driven heart response, physiological response related to an emotional experience. Okay. And this is where the research starts to show itself. What we're looking for is an energy balance. The fact that we have constant energy expenditures without the balance of adequate rest and recovery, well, it leads to, burnout's kind of even an old term these days, but I think you know what we're talking about. It leads to that basically flaming out, not having complete exhaustion, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Spiritually, what does spiritual exhaustion look like? We don't tolerate anybody else's values or our beliefs anymore. It's like we don't care. It just doesn't matter where you think you stand in the whole of it. So this can lead to health challenges, and it definitely relates to diminished performance. Okay. What we want to do is we want to create for optimal performance. And it's based on how we manage our energy. Okay. Essentially, are we getting the kind of recovery that we need to have in order to be able to maintain resilient state of being? Or are our expenditures overriding how much energy we have left? In other words, is there, if we had a bucket and we filled it up with water, if there were holes in the bucket, then we would see about how we are how the energy of the water is leaving the bucket. That's one simple way of looking at it. So there are ways to try to manage the flow of energy. One is to plug the holes. Let's stop the leaks. Okay. And the other is to fill the bucket up again with more water. All right. Speaking of our self, what does plugging the holes mean? If I say that the emotions are the primary drivers of our physiology, what kinds of emotional things can you imagine that we could shift immediately that might be able to help plug the leaks? What I'm saying is our emotional body can create for leaks in energy just by how it is affecting our state of being. How else may I say that? Plugging the leaks. Here's what I would say. One of the things I'd encourage you to consider is, how do you talk to yourself when nobody can hear you? This is the beginning of coming into presence. How do I talk to myself when no one else can hear me? Because I'm not speaking with my voice. I'm speaking to myself with my mind. And what does that dialogue or that monologue, might sound like a dialogue, because I've had conversations with myself where I'm talking to different parts of myself. Maybe that's more than I should share, but how do we talk to ourselves in relation to our emotional self? That's a beginning point, okay? It's a beginning point. If we're talking to ourselves in a way that is condescending to ourselves, in a way that is judging, in a way that is cultivating the idea of being guilty, these are just some of the ideas that are coming to mind right now in relation to, if I'm cultivating this kind of an energy, that all by itself is creating leaks of energy in my physiology, in myself. I'm depleting myself. And that even has nothing to do with an engagement with someone else. That's just me and me. So this is a very real thing that can happen. And so it's important for us to be aware of our emotional body and the way that we are engaging with ourselves, as well as others. Okay. So here it is, self-awareness. One of the most important steps is in being able to stop the energy drains and increase the resilience to find out where is energy being lost, in other words. Okay. So let me give you something to consider about that. Let me give you an example of you're trying to get to work and you know you're late. You're late for work. And maybe this is a crucial time because you've been late before and they said you can't be late again. And you know you're late. What is the emotional, how would you label the emotional feeling of being late for work? What is the emotion that we have in relation to I'm going to be late again? The one thing that pops into my mind is anxiety. There's likely some anxiety. And and then what do you do about that anxiety? All right. So looking at the places how we are engaging in our day, engaging in our being. and being aware, self-awareness of where I am. How present are we? Really? Most of the time. Most of the time, it seems that we're not very present at all. We're generally in a place of some past that we may be trying to rewrite, or that we regret, or that we wished were different in some way. Or we're in some fear of how that's going to relate to the future. How is that going to change? What's going to happen next? What's next? What's happening next? And all of that jettisons us over the only moment that exists, which is now. Okay, so this is about awareness. Where am I? In working in a hospital setting, how easy is it if we have more patients than we know we can serve safely, but this is what's demanded of us? How easy is it for us to lose that self-awareness and being and entering into this state of being that is constantly regretting the past or fearing the future? And when we go into someone's room, we don't even see them. We're not even aware of where we are really, because I'm still dealing with the last room I was in some way, just as an example. Okay. So let's see what self-awareness shows us if we are willing to pay attention to that. Let's do a little bit of physiology about the physiology of coherence and optimal functioning. Okay. Coherence then is the optimal state in which the heart, mind, and emotions are in synchronous. They are synchronous. They are in sync. Okay. Physiologically, the immune and hormonal and nervous systems are all in a state of energetic coordination. This is coherence. Everything is moving as it should be moving together in this dance of coordination. Okay. For instance, have you ever had the experience where your mind is telling you one thing and your emotions are telling you something else? This is an incoherent state. Okay. The place where I'm in an anger is what I think of immediately with that, where there's a part of my anger is saying one thing, and then there's my mind that's saying something else. And we can look at that we've often seen that in skits and in imagery about having an angel on one shoulder and the devil on another shoulder, or some sense of here's the good voice and here's the bad voice. So essentially what we're asking is, and what we're looking for is trying to find for coherence, and that is the physiological aspect of the immune system, the hormonal system, and the nervous system is in a state of coordination. Okay. We can see we've seen this map many times in our life. I'm sure you've seen it multiple times. We're talking about the autonomic nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system is that which innervates into the heart. Both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic innervate and connect the heart, and then connect the heart to the brain. And ultimately, the sympathetic is, if we look at it in the idea of driving a car, the sympathetic nervous system is the accelerator. Okay, it's when we're going to step on the accelerator to move. The parasympathetic, in a very simple way of describing it, maybe oversimple, is that the parasympathetic would be the brakes. And so the brakes is slowing things down, the accelerator is speeding things up. And so incoherence would be trying to drive the car by stepping on both of them at the same time. This would be incoherence. They're not in sync. They're not moving. We're not dancing this. We're just trying to make this thing happen. And we step on the brake and the accelerator at the same time. Okay. So this is, we're looking at how, now what happens is, we're going to talk about is in relation to the heart-brain communication related to the autonomic nervous system. We all have heard before, I think it's pretty common to hear now that the heart has its own complex nervous system, and often it's referred to as the heart-brain. And interestingly enough, the heart sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And signals from the heart especially affect the brain centers involved in thinking, reaction times, and self-regulation. So in fact, it is the heart which is communicating with the brain to say how things are going. It's not the other way around. If they're in coherence, then there's a nice dance of what's happening between the heart and the brain. But the heart is generally always sending more information afferently to the brain than the brain is sending to the heart. So the heart is a messenger. The heart is giving the real-time analysis of what's going on. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how the heart shows itself in relation to what is the brain listening to when the heart is communicating. There's something known as heart rate variability. And this is how the research has continued in regards to HeartMath, the Institute of HeartMath. Heart rate variability is natural. It's a very normal thing. And in a healthy adult, heart rate variability is a natural thing you want to see. You know, working in places where I had lots of opportunities to look at cardiac monitors, often we would run a strip like you see in front of you here, and I'd just write down regular sinus rhythm and put it in the chart, and there you go. And that's basically what we were talking about. However, if you look to a beat-to-beat analysis of the heart rate, you're going to see that from a beat-to-beat perspective, that the heart rate changes. It changes beat to beat. So that's when we get to pull out our calipers and take a look at the ECG tracings and play around a little bit and look at the fact that the heart rate variability is a normal and natural thing with regards to our physiology. Okay, so heart rate variability is natural, it's expected, and it actually is a sign of a resilience. Okay, we'll leave that as a baseline. When we look at the heart rate over time, we can see that if we look at a sinusoidal graph on the top, the blue line on the top, and the heart rate on the bottom, that when we are seeing an elevation in the sinusoidal or in the mountain in the graph, when the line is moving up, then the heart rate is faster. When the line is moving down, then the heart rate is slower. This is over time now. Okay. So what we're looking at, this is not about arrhythmias. This is just looking at the heart rate and looking at natural heart rate variability. This is the way the heart is, one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways the heart is communicating to the brain and how the brain is functioning and relating to the heart and messaging the rest of the body. Okay, that's called heart rate variability. Now, when we look at heart rate variability, this is also a case study. This is the same person. The red box on top and the blue box on the bottom are the same person. What was happening on this one in the research is they had asked, and it was a woman, an adult woman, and she was asked to feel the best she could. In the red box, she was asked to feel frustration. Just feel frustration. Think of something that's frustrating you. And we would take, and the heart rate was monitored. And that's what you see there in the tracing. The blue box down below, same person in the same setting, just moments later, was asked to think of or try to feel appreciation. Try to feel appreciation. Okay. So what we see is the difference between what is a incoherent rhythm, if we are measuring it on paper or measuring it on a monitor. The incoherent pattern is on the top, and the coherent pattern is on the bottom. Okay. So what you see is generally what you see, and looking at most monitors, we don't like to see things that look ragged and all over the place, generally speaking, even to the point of VFib. We don't like to see those kinds of lines. And we often, when we're looking at the other monitors that are looking at cardiac output and looking at all the kinds of numbers that we can look at, and breathing and all the other things, it's very sinusoidal and it's very wave-like. And when we see that, generally we can say, well, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so you can see that here. And what this is reflecting, the coherent state that you see on the bottom, is what it looks like when the heart rate variability is in a coherent state of function. Okay, and this is what we're shooting for. This is what helps us to build resilience, is to function as often as possible in a coherent state of being. Okay. I know we're moving very fast on this, and there's a lot of information around all of this, but this is just planting the seeds about this. Okay. So what we also know is that an incoherent heart rhythm, an incoherent state of being, actually inhibits brain function. And a coherent state of being facilitates brain function. Okay. We have the most heart rate variability when we're younger, and it starts to decline when we age, which means the peaks and valleys become more and more dampened as we age. Okay. It can be an important indicator of psychological resilience and the ability to handle stress. Okay. It's not diagnostic. This part here that says below normal HRV for your age is a strong and independent predictor of future health problems. It's not a diagnostic tool, but it can give you something to be aware of. If we're noticing that our heart rate norm is less than it's supposed to be for our age, and we won't get into all of that right now. Just planting seeds about this. Just know that the body can show us so much about what's happening with regards to our coherent state of being. Okay. An example of this is these are both coherent heart tracings. Okay. The 10-year-old female has much higher peaks and valleys. Very coherent. It's very up and down. And so is the 63-year-old female. It's up and down, it's sinusoidal, it's nice wavy, but hers is very much more dampened. But for her age, that's normal. Okay. So we won't spend too much more on that. All right. We talked about inhibiting brain function and facilitating brain function. Okay. So, this is where when we get really stressed out, we don't think well. And if it's an extreme state of panic or stress, we may not be able to even have a coherent thought or even be able to speak well. Okay. So knowing this as a baseline, incoherence inhibits brain function and coherence facilitates it. Okay. That's the key to all of this. So what happens when we practice coherence and we try to find how to create for coherence in ourselves? Okay, we can maintain our composure during challenges. Okay, we can, you know, it's not 5 o'clock in DMV where you just pulled my last nerve. You just messed up. Now you're going to hear from me. It improves harmony. It improves the ability to relate with each other. We're not as tired. We're not as exhausted. Okay. Our regenerative processes are stronger. There's research that looked at the immune system in relation to coherence and how quickly an anger state we can stay if we hold anger for just a few minutes. What happens with the IgA levels, what happens with the immune globulin is it is directly inverse to that. So our IgA will drop with anger and will stay at a level of decreasing our immune system for as much as 6 hours for 5 minutes of anger. And so these are the things that have been studied and looked at. The body is talking to it, and we are talking to the body. Our reaction times are better. We can think more clearly. You know, this is used also for test anxiety. It's used for just about everything in our life that can help us to move through with more resilience. And one of the things here that I find very interesting to follow is our intuitive intelligence increases. Our ability to really tune into our intuitive knowing increases when we are facilitating brain function through a coherent state of being. Okay. And it's important for us to be able to touch our intuition in relation to the work we're doing. It's important for us to do what we can to really trust our intuitive nature and to facilitate it as best we can. And so being in a coherent state of being helps us to do that. Okay. Now, let's look at depletion to renewal. If you looked at this and you wanted to do this on your paper, you're just basically creating 4 quadrants, okay? The 4 quadrants relate to the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the hormonal system as it relates to cortisol and DEHA, okay? What we're looking for is, where do I want to be most of the time in this particular system? So here's what I know to say about that is if my heart rate is high, so we have at the top a high heart rate and at the bottom a lower heart rate. So the high heart rate indicates more sympathetic activity, and the parasympathetic activity required or reflects a lower heart rate. If I'm up in the left-hand corner where my heart rate is high and my cortisol is high. Now, cortisol is considered often, it's been considered to be called the stress hormone. There's no bad hormones. There's no bad heart rates necessarily speaking, but it is about looking at how the body is reacting. And so if my cortisol is high and my heart rate is high, what kind of an emotion am I likely to be driven by? A high heart rate and a high stress hormone. Okay. So what I would say about that, in the interest of time, is I would say this is a place where we can look at anger. Our heart rate is high. Frustration. Okay, frustration and anger, high intensity emotion that is depleting. It's a depleting emotion. Stress hormone is high, heart rate is high. We're looking at those kinds of emotions. Now, we can also have a depleting emotion with a low heart rate. So our heart rate is low, it's not fast, but our cortisol is high. Our stress hormone is still high. What do you think could cause that kind of a change with regards to our being? We can look at things like sadness or even depression. We're looking at the ways that our body is functioning in relation to a very depleted state of being, high stress. You might be sitting very quietly, but sitting very quietly doesn't do a lot if the cortisol, we can look like we're very still and relaxed, but what's going on within? So depression and sadness would be easy ones for that. And then we look on the other side, the right side, the renewing emotions. So what's happening when the heart rate is high and the DHA is high, or the vitality hormone is another way that one's called. So high heart rate, high vitality hormone. Well, that is, it could be, I have a passion for something. It's a passionate feeling. It's an excitement, a joyful excitement. I just did the best downhill ski run I've ever done in my life, or whatever. We're looking at that high energy, high vitality hormone that puts us in that spot. And then we can have a lower heart rate and a high vitality hormone. This would be more in the realm of contentment and peacefulness, a quiet assurance that all is well. I'm in a state of being that feels very, very good, for lack of better words. So the only thing this whole thing is about is, where do you find yourself most of the time? That's what this is about. Where am I most of the time? Self-awareness. Where am I in my days? And we can change it immediately. And what happens with the heart rate tracings and the ability to shift into a coherent state of being? It's not something that takes time. Once we are looking at a monitor in real time, and I can run you through the very first thing that we did, heart-focused breathing, we can see that the heart rate changes immediately, and it starts to communicate to the brain a coherent message. And we can see it physiologically in our body, in the nervous system, in the heart, in the immune system. It all shows itself very quickly. So, what is that all about? Well, I find that it's important to consider when we are working with each other and even in our own self, to find coherence within ourself as often as possible. And one of the ways to do that is what we did at the very beginning. At the very beginning, that's the baseline beginning point of building resilience in ourselves, and that is what is called heart-focused breathing. Okay? Heart-focused breathing is I stop, I pause, and I breathe deeper and longer and slower, and I visualize that I'm breathing into my heart space. That's the beginning. Now, what I'm showing you here now is called quick coherence technique. We're going to add one more step to this, okay? So instead of just looking at it, I'm going to ask you to do this with me, okay? When I talk about creating, I'm going to ask you to consider a heart feeling in this exercise. A heart feeling or feelings that create coherence, you can see these here. This is what I'm asking you to try to activate. to make a sincere attempt to activate. Coherent emotions are courage and honor and dignity, confidence, appreciation, gratitude, kindness, care, love, compassion, a tolerance, a patience, joy, enthusiasm. These are heart feelings or emotional feelings which can help to create coherence. Now, I'm going to say something about love. It's all love. Love, 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 love. And yet I also find that that's not the first word that I lead with when I'm working with someone else and helping them to do this for themselves. Because there's so many ideas about what love is. And one of the ideas that's not very healthy is someone who's suffered abuse in the name of love. And so that becomes more challenging. So I'm not necessarily going to lead right in with love, but it is love. It's the true love that we're working towards in this work for ourselves and for others. So with that, now, let's stop for a moment, pause, and focus your attention on the area of your heart. And imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart and chest, a little slower, a little deeper, a little longer. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, or some variation of that. Breathing deliberately. Thinking about breathing like this is not helpful. Doing it is helpful. Knowing the physiology and knowing the heart rate variability and knowing all of those things, it's foundational. But knowing all that without taking the pause and creating the coherent state within our physiology, just knowing it mentally is not helpful. We stop and we breathe a little deeper, a little longer into the heart space. Now, the only other step is make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, the feelings I was talking about. Appreciation or care for yourself, or care for someone else, or love yourself. Love yourself. And instead of thinking about that, do your very best to feel it. And maybe a memory comes up of a child of yours or someone special that really reflects these coherent emotions, or a pet, or something that just all of a sudden, there it is. Here it is. And you feel it, even for a little bit. You feel it. There it is. That's what we're trying to do with quick coherence. Heart-focused breathing, which means I have to be present enough to pause and to breathe deeper and longer. Breathe into the heart space and make a sincere attempt to activate a coherent emotion or a positive, renewing feeling. And what's really fun about this is the research has replicated itself over and over again about how if I am in a coherent state, then my being in a coherent state can greatly assist you in naturally converting into a coherent state yourself without saying anything. I had a dear teacher a man I referred to as a teacher for many, many years. And he said, a healer is someone who can walk into a space and can affect healing without saying anything or touching anyone. And I was a lot younger when I heard that. I wondered how that could be. And this in a limited way, this begins to touch that a little bit about being able to support healing without having to say a word. We know it when we feel someone in our present that is doing that, and our body responds. So much more to say, and I'm not going to say it. We're overdue on time, and so thank you for your attention, and I hope this has given you something to be with. Okay, thanks. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Sure.
So we're at the end of class, so we're gonna ask everybody to give their takeaways. And don't forget that I need your scores on your Enneagram page. I think it's 11. It's actually page 9. So your score, your number is your Enneagram type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. I need them by Tuesday. Sandra Smith needs them by Tuesday so she can construct the class based on all of your types. All right, so let's do takeaways. Lisa, your takeaway for the evening. No wiki, sorry.
All right.
Or seeds, whoever wants to
Okay.
go.
I know. My takeaway was so happy to hear both presentations. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Greg. Yeah, I've known about HeartMath for a while, so this was a really good refresher. So true about coherence. I try to focus on that in my life. I'm successful, hopefully over 50% of the time. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mark, what about you?
A message that I love to be reminded about heart math. It's just meaningful to bring that into my daily routine more often.
Thank you, Mark. And Lisa, seeds.
So this is something that I've practiced over the last several years of my life. Trying to inflict positive thoughts on myself and others. I try to do that in my daily when I deal with my staff, because I think it's really important that they know that there's positive energy and negative energy makes things worse. So I appreciate his candor and the actual scientific aspects behind that. I also enjoyed the score information. That was very, very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. And Liz.
Again, fabulous information. I feel like these conversations, and then having worked on the Enneagram, is that how you say it? I don't know. I don't today it kind of with what Greg or Gregory, I don't know.
Greg's fine.
Thank you.
Greg's good. That's
Like how you were talking just kind of brought me into a state, and it brought up the Enneagram. I'm not like the protector type, but that is one of my 3, and it just brought up some stuff for me to see about that. I'm just super appreciative for that unveiling.
Thank you, Liz. And Jennifer.
I have such a hard time figuring out which unmute button to hit that actually works on my computer. I really loved both of the speakers. I'm excited to dive into the SCORE website. Actually, I kind of only did a little bit of diving, and there's 22 mentors in the Richmond area, different
Oh.
venues. So I'm excited about that. And I love the the heart math that Greg spoke about, and the resilience and really kind of being self-aware is kind of what I took away from it, and really putting myself in that positive place when others around me are throwing darts or whatever it might be.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Matthew.
Well, SCORE was great. Years and years ago, way before I was even nursing, I tried to do SCORE. It was overwhelming with me, and I had a business partner. We just didn't get along on the business plan, and I just feel so much better about going back in now on my own, more mature. And I was so grateful that he said, you know, if I can't find my niche locally, you know, it's a nationwide thing. So that makes me feel really good. And SCORE is so much, you know, those were the days before even computers were easy to search. So it's all been revamped. So that's cool. Funnily enough, the room I'm sitting in right now in this clinic, this holistic practice in Santa Fe, I was introduced to heart math many years ago when I was a coach, and I was going to become certified. And then one thing led to another. I became a nurse, and now I do what I do. But it was right here. And part of my expertise is hormones. And the whole talk about hormones and heart math, you know, because I look at all these different ways coming from like a psych nurse to make people raise out of a vibration where like their physical health can maintain itself. I realize really now I really should go back in and certify. And as I do the scientific parts of the hormones and the labs and the replacements and everything, I really should take the time to build heart math into their program. It's the right thing to do. So thank you. It was all very rich.
Wonderful. And
Yeah.
Sabrina, what about you? Thank you, Matthew.
I enjoyed the SCORE presentation. It was good to know that maybe I should look at the finances available towards, women businesses like he suggested, because that is something that I really hadn't thought of. So I appreciated that. And then for the second presentation, it really it resonated with everything that I learned previously about biofeedback. And I think that's something that we could incorporate. And as a person with a chronic heart condition, it's something that you kind of have to learn anyway, how to calm yourself down when needed. And it's definitely something that you can kind of expand on to treat mentally and physically and realize how they're both correlated. So I enjoyed that.
Thank you. And Sonia.
Again, bravo for both sessions. They were both great and wonderful. I already got on the SCORE website and sent an email, put my information in, and the closest one to me is Oklahoma City, which is about an hour and a half away from me. So now I'm going to wait to get an email from them. The heart math, do you know a Susan Radcliffe? She does that here in Oklahoma. And we actually did a presentation last October for one of the nursing programs here. And she did her part just like the part you did. And she wanted to incorporate the indigenous culture of how we did this already. But through historical trauma, all of this has been taken away from us, but now we're trying to reclaim it in our communities. And so I got to share part of that as well. So but yes, my daughter, she uses it, our oldest adopted daughter, and she uses a technique that she learned from Susan to this day. So yeah, it's very, very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. And Luann.
Well, thank you. This is fabulous. The SCORE is very functional, practical, and it's a tool that's there. You can just use it at any time, at any part of your journey. So really appreciate being reminded about it. And then I want to thank you, Gregory. That's just fabulous. And I think you've really been blessed with a gift, just listening to your voice and, you know, presenting this, very powerful. And a little testimony, Gregory did help me when my husband was dying. The whole idea about staying present in the moment is not easy if you've been, I mean, in any situation, but certainly when you're juggling 30 balls in the air, and that would be like emergency room nursing. To stay present. What do you mean? I need to stay 10 miles ahead. So these are very simple and practical tools. And I want to speak to the resilience piece after an endurance run of many months. That graph, you know, I saw this when I took this class the first time, and my husband was sick, and I was not really present for the information. But now when I look at that graph, it's just wow. So thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm going to delve into it. Thank you.
Great. So thank you all very much. Next week, we're having a pharmacist come and talk about many things about advocating on the pharmacy team. Don't forget your Enneagram number, and we'll just do sporadic hand signals to each other tonight. And thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
You know.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you a quick question?
Certainly, certainly.
I was kind of, I don't know, surprised by Barbara's comment to me. Have I talked to other people about doing this? Did you hear her say that to me during the experience workforce meeting today?
Can you reiterate again?
She, were you at the experience workforce
Yes,
meeting?
yes, yes,
And she
yes.
said to me, have you checked this out with other people before you've done it? And I was taken aback a little bit, and I said, well, not really, but all of these emails and the emails with the mission, vision, and values, or that's all being sent to administrators, directors of nursing all over these 9 Western counties. So it's sort of like, I felt like she was asking if I had gotten permission, and the answer is absolutely not. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you what my thoughts were about that.
Well, I was actually surprised that Barbara was there because she's on vacation, on the coast, and she recalls incidents with her mom and caretaking. So yeah, I think there might have been some context of that you and I are not aware
Yeah,
of.
that we're not. So it was just kind of came from nowhere. So I thought, well, that's an interesting perspective.
Yes, yes, and it's worthy of a follow-up, or maybe when you see her in person or talk to her, because
Yeah.
the things that she says usually resonate in some capacity, is what I learned. So,
Well, we'll see, it's all gonna emerge. It's all gonna show itself, so we'll wait and see.
yeah, exactly, and it's not just you; it's the collective, and that collective will,
Mm-hmm.
be at the steering wheel type scenario. So,
That's right. That's right. So anyway, we'll wait. I'm sure there's going to be lots of feedback in the days to come.
yeah, well, and I'm so happy that Ollie, is helping you because you've been such a great steward on the healthcare topic with them, and just sounds like a natural extension, and It is pretty incredible to think that there isn't a recognized national um, um, nurse corps, elder
Yeah.
nurse corps, and that's very true with each and every one of your students that I see
Oh,
in the
yeah.
class. So
Oh, yeah.